Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us. We're just waiting on, we've got a few more people registered, I think, so we'll just give them a few minutes to join us. Hello everyone who's joining us. Hi. I think we've got about a few more people registered than have joined us just yet. So should we give it another minute, do you think? And then we'll get started.
Okay, there's nobody else in the waiting room at the moment, but I will keep an eye on that, Karen, if that's helpful.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just conscious I don't think we've got our colleagues from San India with us yet, have we?
No. Okay.
That's okay. We can.
I'm sure they won't be long.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's make a start then, shall we? Welcome everybody. It's lovely to see all your faces. I think we've got people joining us from all over the world today by the power of Zoom, so that's fantastic. So today is a webinar just for 1 hour to think about stakeholder engagement with social distancing and give you a chance to share some of your experiences of how you've maybe managed stakeholder engagement during the lockdown period we've had over the last few months, and maybe get some ideas of how you might be able to do that going forwards. So just a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, I think most of you are on mute. If you could just keep yourselves on mute unless obviously you want to contribute. You can use the chat box. We're going to moderate that and just keep an eye if you have any questions or you want to make a comment. By all means, use the chat box and we can manage things that way. If your connection isn't working too well today for any reason, you've got any glitches in the system, then maybe just switch off the visual, and that might just help to keep things running a bit more smoothly. Hopefully we won't have any issues like that. And then just wanted to do some introductions first of all. I introduce myself. I'm Karen Smith. I think I've seen some of you at some of our gatherings or in training. I'm one of the SAN directors. I've been a director for a couple of years now, so I'm probably still feel a little bit like the newbie. But it's great to see you all today. And I'm just going to introduce my colleagues Liz and Lisa, who I'm sure many of you will know as well. Liz?
Yes, hello. It's lovely to see you all. Nice to be back in your company, and I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on how do we get this engagement stuff working, particularly in light of the announcements that have come this morning. It suddenly feels as though we're taking some steps back again, and how are we going to overcome some of that? So I've particularly got some work coming up which requires engagement. So I'd be really, really interested to hear your thoughts and get a bit of a sense of what good ideas can we create. So thank you, and it's lovely to see you all.
Lisa?
Okay, thanks Karen, thanks Liz. Hi everyone, I'm Lisa McMullen. I'm a fellow director of the Social Audit Network here in the UK, working with Karen and Liz. I've been involved for the best part of 20 years with the organisation and network as we were before we formalised. So always developing new approaches and new challenges to ensure that we effectively engage with our stakeholders. So I'm really looking forward to this morning's discussion and hearing from yourselves and having the opportunity to think and come up with some fresh ideas as well. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, obviously, sorry, can I also just say we're monitoring the chat box and things, so if you have got any questions or do you have anything you want to find out about SAN at any point, we can always follow that up separately. You can always let me know through the chat box. I'm very happy to catch up about that separately. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Lisa. We weren't planning to go to ask you all to introduce yourselves at this point because there's quite a few of us and we are going to go into breakout rooms in a little bit. So that might be a good chance for you to meet some of the other participants and have a bit more chance to have some input and share ideas. What we plan to do is, as I say, the main aim of today, following on from some of the other webinars we've done where stakeholder engagement came up quite a bit, and obviously the challenges that we have at the moment around doing that. As I say, the main aim is really to hear from you and to share ideas. So, so we're going to have a couple of presentations to start off with, sort of showcasing a couple of examples. And then we're going to go into breakout rooms and give that opportunity for you guys to share, and then we'll come back together and see what we've learned. Hope that sounds okay. So one of the presentations was going to be from our colleagues in San India, but I still don't think they've joined us just yet, have they? So we'll change the order a little bit, and that's absolutely fine. And I was going to share an experience that of my own actually from the Woodland Trust. So I'm a I have a consultancy business, Turn Up the Value, and I work with organisations, particularly social enterprises, around trying to maximise, measure and maximise social value. One of my main contracts at the moment is with the Woodland Trust on the Smithills estate in Bolton. And I just wanted to share with you one of the initiatives we put in place to try and bring people together in a safe way using our estate in Bolton. If I could just share my screen, hopefully I'll be able to share some pictures with you. Can everybody see that okay? Great.
Yes, yeah.
Brilliant. So this is the Smithills estate that you can see here. People who are from the UK or particularly from the Northwest might recognise the Winter Hill mast on the top there. It's quite a beacon of the landscape in the Northwest, and that's where the Smithills estate is. So my role at Smithills particularly is to try and encourage opportunities for social enterprise and to try and generate income for the estate to ensure some sustainability for the future. And as part of the team during lockdown, particularly as things started to ease a little bit and we were able to get together, the team, there's about 6 of us in the team at the Smithills estate. And we really missed seeing each other and we really wanted to get together and be able to have some conversations face to face. So we started to go out for walks on the estate and use the estate and its environment to kind of enable us to come together in a way that was safe. And we got a lot of benefit from that. And, you know, it really had some great ideas and great conversations, and we felt, why not we take this to Bolton and see whether there's other people who might want to use the estate in this way as well. So we created these meeting rooms with a difference. So as you can see here, these are 2 of clearings in the woodland basically, where we provide camping chairs and a tarpaulin for if the weather's not too great. And we're hiring these spaces out for community groups and businesses and different people to come together on the estate. So this is a couple of them, and then this is another one. This is actually our forest school space, which we've been hiring out as well. And all through the summer, there's been children using this space with a forest school business doing a summer camp as well, which has been fantastic. So we've used the spaces for volunteer meetings, and this is actually a picture of our estate volunteers and me and Johnny, who are part of the team, and we were having a meeting there just to do some planning and things. As you can see, the chairs are sort of spaced out 2 meters apart, and under our local guidelines, we've not been able to get more than 6 of us together at any one time. But that's been easy to manage, and we've just kept the numbers in line with the guidelines, basically. We've also had our team meetings there. We've used it for workshops. So a local business has hired the spaces to do some small mindfulness workshops outdoors. We've actually, we had a booking as well for a folk band who wanted to come and practice on the estate. And we're establishing a social enterprise on the Smithills estate as well. And that's called the Smithills Collective. And they've been using the space to come together, a group of small businesses who are forming a social enterprise to discuss their ideas and collaborate. That's worked really well. I think one of the key things is that we've been able to take inspiration from the natural landscape, and just a couple of pictures here, just because I'm in love with the Smithills estate. I think it's a beautiful place to meet with people, and we really do take inspiration from the landscape. But obviously, safety is at the forefront of everything that we're doing at the moment. And although meeting with stakeholders outdoors is safer, it's not risk-free. So we've had to do full risk assessment in line with all the government guidelines and the local guidelines to ensure that we're doing everything we can to keep people safe as they come together outdoors. We've produced a COVID-19 safety protocol, and we also asked to see if other businesses or organisations are hiring those spaces. We asked to see their own safety protocols as well, and ensure that everything's in line with the guidelines and the law around COVID-19. Obviously, we have social distancing measures in place, so we meet groups at the car park and then walk them up to the spaces, ensuring that social distancing is in place at all times, and we escort people down into the meeting spaces, and as I said, make sure the seats, the regulations that distance apart and things. We've got all the right hygiene measures in place, hand gel available for people, etc. And we also make sure there's a booking system in place, so we know at all times who's using these spaces, and we've got all their details should we need them. And obviously we're following local guidelines as well as the national guidelines, which is particularly pertinent for us in Bolton at the moment, because as I'm sure those of you in the UK will have seen in the news, we've got a very tighter local lockdown in place now, which unfortunately actually means that although we have been using these spaces for the last few weeks, we won't be able to for the foreseeable future, because we aren't allowed to meet with anybody outside of our household in homes, gardens, or anywhere really. So unfortunately, our little initiative is on hold for now, but we're hoping very much that we'll be able to get people back together soon. I thought I'd just share some of the challenges with you. We found that when we're doing engagement with our volunteers, or as I said, with the businesses, it can be difficult to take notes or capture conversations.
Yes.
And with the weather as well, can be unpredictable, particularly on the moors of Bolton. So, sometimes we have to improvise, and the wind doesn't help when you're trying to take notes and use flip charts and things like that. It's quite difficult. So we have to look at other ways of doing that, such as recording conversations or using video to capture what's been talked about. Also, some of the spaces aren't very accessible, so the spaces aren't going to be suitable for all individuals or groups to use. And I think we just recognise as well that it's not everyone's cup of tea. Not everybody likes to meet outside. We have found a little bit of resistance from some people who've said, oh, can we not meet inside, or I prefer to use Zoom? And that's absolutely fine, and we just have to work around that. I just thought I'd provide some quotes for you from some of the people that have used the spaces, just to highlight some of the benefits really and the feedback that we've had. I think a lot of those you'll be able to read mention the benefits to mental health, and we found that, you know, during lockdown, people haven't been able to connect with others in the same way, and not being able to see people face to face is really tricky. So coming together and being in a natural environment really seems to have brought those benefits. People have commented that it's better than Zoom in some ways and these sort of online conversations, because it allows spin-off conversations, and that's often where some of the gold is. And I think for businesses that have brought employees together, it's sort of helped them to bond together as a team again. And it's also allowed creative thinking. People feel a little bit more relaxed when they're in that kind of environment. And as someone mentioned, you're accompanied by birdsong, which isn't something you get at many meetings or workshops. When we did one of our business events, we actually had a barn owl flew across, because we were meeting in the evening in the woods, and it was very beautiful. Really stimulating way to bring people together. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to share that as an example, really, of something a little bit different, maybe you've not thought of, or maybe you have, maybe that's something you've been using yourselves, but that's just one example from me.
We haven't been joined by our folks from India, even though we've been in touch with them at the moment. So I'm not sure what's going on with them, but I wonder whether we just slightly shift things around. We were hoping to hear from them and then give you an opportunity to do some breakout conversations. I'm thinking maybe we just do some breakout conversations now anyway, and kind of share what have you used, what good ideas could you come up with in some small groups, and then, you know, have 10 minutes or so doing that, come back. And they may join us or they may not. And if they don't, it'll be because something's happened at their end. So, you know, who knows?
Yeah, we're very uncertain times, aren't we? So, yeah.
Who knows? But
yeah.
Is everybody kind of happy to do that? I'm just looking for kind of nods of heads. I'm seeing nods of heads. Fabulous. Okay, so I'm the person who's going to put you into breakout rooms. Hopefully you've all been part of this before. If you haven't, what will happen is I will break you up into a number of breakout rooms, and there's 14 of us on the call, so we'll probably end up with 3 groups of about 5 in each, okay? And you'll get a little prompt on your screen that just asks you to click to accept. And if you click to accept, the magic of Zoom takes you off into another room with some people. And then, funnily enough, 10 minutes passes and you're suddenly whipped out, really quite unceremoniously, back to us, okay? So I'm going to make that happen from here, if that's okay. Okay. I should see you slowly disappear as you click on your connections. PD 6301, can you hear me? No? Okay, Lisa has come back to me. That's good.
I've come back because I was in the same room as Karen.
Okay. Hold on one second then.
That's okay.
You should get another prompt. Have you received a prompt or not?
No.
No? Okay, I'll try again.
Oh, yes, sorry. No. Yes, we'll shave the name on the cloud.
Okay, hopefully that will get you something. I've also got somebody who hasn't responded. A PD 6301.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
No, me neither. I've asked them to unmute, but I wonder whether they have had to step away from their machine, so they may not actually be there at the moment.
Okay. I now have the option to join breakout room 3.
Great. All right, do that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Hello.
Hi, hi.
Hi. We've just put folks into some breakout rooms.
Okay.
Just having some conversations at the moment.
Okay.
Hopefully, I think they've got about another 3 or 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
When they come back, they'll do a little
Okay.
bit of sharing of what they talked about. And then I think
Okay.
Karen's going to hand over to you. Is that going to be
Sure.
okay?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay. So bear with us and they won't be
No
long.
worries. I was thinking it was 4:30. That was what I saw.
Okay.
That's
Well,
some
no
confusion. Okay. No worries. Yeah.
Good. How's your day been so far? Has it been a busy one?
Yeah, we're having another training coming up at the end of the week. So we're working on that. We were thinking it was 4:30. We just took a break. And then I was just casually checking my mail and I saw a forward from Lata saying this is a link. You have to continue.
Oh, bless you. It sounds as though you're rushed off your feet, to be honest.
No, that's okay.
Oh. Well, we're grateful and glad to have you. So I'm really pleased that you were able to make it.
Just taking the file and keeping it ready.
Karen just did a little presentation about some stuff that they've done in the UK about social distancing with engagement, which gave you some outdoor space. So that was good. But people will be really interested to hear, ideas and stuff. So.
I just called Lata.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to close the rooms and they will all gradually come back to us. She said, with hope in her heart.
Lata will join us in 5 minutes, so I'm ready to take up.
Fantastic. They'll do a little bit of sharing anyway when they come back. So that'll probably give Lata time enough to join. So this is that moment when I'm constantly crossing my fingers going, they will all come back. I know they'll all come back. It's amazing how long a minute takes to click down, isn't it? When you're waiting for something to happen.
We got used to this online mode now. So we are prepared anytime for any session to handle for any language also in India. We got so many languages. So we are even geared up to handle sessions in any language now, whether it's regional or English or we have to even just show videos and push on.
Fantastic.
This Corona, I tell you, has taken us all in different modes.
Absolutely. Okay, everybody's back by the looks of it, which is great. And we've also been joined by colleagues from India. But Karen, I'm going to hand over to you to do the kind of gathering of feedback from folk who've been in different rooms. So I'm going to mute myself and hand back to you. Thank you.
Unmute myself. There we go. Thanks, everyone. So did we end up with 3 breakout rooms? Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, well, I would hand over to you guys to share some feedback. Maybe I don't know if you wanted to share maybe one benefit that you found that you discussed in a group, maybe one challenge, and if there was a particularly good tool that somebody mentioned, you might want to share that as well. So if I hand over to one of the other groups, if anybody wants to put themselves forward, or
shall I feedback for our group?
Thank you.
I tend to be the vocal one. I do apologise. I think what was evident was that we are all having exactly the same challenges, and I think we've all tried the same solutions. So we have all tried outdoor. Well, most of us have tried outdoor spaces, and it's great. I think my worry is I work at Marie Curie. At a hospice, and I think this will apply across the board. Now we're approaching the bad weather. The outdoor spaces are going to be even more of a challenge to utilise, and it's what is the alternative. We also have used obviously virtual platforms to engage, but across the board it was a case of actually you've got to get that buy-in from your stakeholders to be wanting to engage virtually. And that is a big challenge in itself, but trying to offer variety within those options and those deliveries might entice people, but yeah, that is a challenge in itself. I don't know if any of the other group want to come in and say anything I've missed, or whether there was, I don't think we came up with a magic tool or something that was great that was working, unless I missed something. Have I missed anything, group members? No, shaking of heads.
Oh, thank you, Suzanne. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Hand over to one of the other groups.
So I think from our group, it was similar. It's difficult to get people engaged who aren't particularly digitally minded, or who you perhaps aren't already engaged with. But there's some good ideas from some of the other people in my group, and we discussed how it feels like a kind of vintage approach, like when we'll be thinking of printing flyers, posters, so hard copy things that we've been, past few years trying to move away from. So that was one of the things that came up, and that really door-to-door approach as well. If you know where people are who you're trying to engage with, because my colleagues in my breakout room were very helpful, making suggestions for me. I work in a community group, and we deal with people on a very individual basis. So there were suggestions about just actually door-to-door, knocking on the door, saying hello. So yeah, that is a much more vintage feel to it. Perhaps the way we need to go.
I like that because it often seems quite high tech, doesn't it? Everybody's using Zoom and social media and things, but just going back to basics sometimes, that vintage approach, yeah, it's definitely.
I'd just add to that, in the area that I live in Liverpool, Prince's Park had a spike, and so they decided they needed to be able to engage people really quickly in the community. And it's a really diverse community. Loads of different languages are spoken. And it's, kind of, how are we going to get messages over? And they just said to people, go and knock on the door of your neighbour and tell them what the situation is. And the spike went down almost within kind of 2 or 3 days. It really worked to just go and knock on somebody's door and tell them. It was like, why do we make this so complicated?
Yeah.
So just sharing that experience.
Yeah. Is there anyone else in Sheena's group wanted to come in with anything, maybe anything that particularly challenging? Well, there's lots of challenges at this time, aren't there? But anything that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, we were just talking about obviously those people who don't have access to digital, whether it's like equipment or they don't have the data, they don't have the finances to allow data or Wi-Fi, etc., or maybe don't have the confidence or not used to it. So again, we're talking about obviously the vintage approach, but also using other organisations that maybe still engage with them, whether it's GPs or whatever it may be, depending on the group you're trying to engage with. If there are more statutory organisations that are still engaged with them, whether you can kind of piggyback on whatever they may be doing, whether it's food banks or whoever, just to try and get your message out through other organisations that are still heavily involved with them.
Yeah, trying a different channel.
Mm-hmm.
I know certainly in our group, Kevin, you were saying as well that that sort of vintage approach would work quite well, and you tried this sort of, we call it like a street wisdom type approach, is what I'm familiar with, but maybe you could share that experience that you'd had there. I thought that was interesting.
Well, I'm a manager of a community development team, and we work across Aberdeenshire, which is quite a big rural area. So as a team, we hadn't really been meeting up. So what we'd agreed as a team is staff, 2 or 3 of us would meet up in one of our towns and villages, and we did this psychogeography walk thing, basically, where you basically had a shape or a picture or an image, and you followed that image around the community. And it basically took you to places. I've worked in this community that I'm in for 25 years, and it took me to streets and places I had never been before. So it was a really good process for us just to get us outside and be looking at our communities. But what we noticed when we were doing it was people wanted to speak to us. People just wanted to talk when we were out and about in the streets. So we thought, okay, let's just go out, because normally we would do door knocking to engage with people, but we couldn't really do that from a social distancing point of view. So it just opened up conversations with lots and lots of different people. So because we have done the Zoom and the online stuff, but we also realised you have to do this other stuff. And when we did that, we have done things like had gazebos and very visible things up, so to try and let people know you're there. But this was more just wandering about, speaking to people, and they just wanted to talk.
I love that, yeah. And that's certainly been the experience, just my own personal experience in my community. I mean, I've met people on my street that I've never met before, and it's just such a look. We've been doing street dancing we used to 11 o'clock every day. We'd go out and do some line dancing on the street, and it's just these things have emerged, these kind of new ways of finding those connections with people that because as humans that's what we want to do, isn't it? And you know, you do want to talk to people on the street. And
there was a really powerful thing I saw though. I mean, some of our staff are redeployed, so we had someone working in a care home with older people, and they're a group that we've all felt have been really left out in this whole pandemic, and how do we get their voice heard? So we were doing a kind of focus group with them, and one of our guys did poetry with them. So they did a poem about what they liked about COVID and what they didn't. And it was the most poignant, powerful things that came out of it. And there was one older man talking there, and he had dementia and he has issues, but he was saying, this reminds me of being a child in the war, because I knew there was something wrong because all the adults were really serious about it. And I knew it was important, but I didn't quite get it. And he says, the feeling I had as a child there, that's how I feel just now. I don't understand it, but that's how I feel. And I thought that was really powerful feedback.
Definitely, yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Kevin. I think we're all like, I like that. Yeah, some good nuggets to take away there. Also, in the group I was in, Maggie, you were sharing some of the barriers really, and some of the challenges you've had with this sort of predominance of Zoom and the use of technology. There's actually kind of prevented some people from been able to access support services and things. Would you want to share some of that, Maggie? That'd be okay.
So I'm on the board of trustees of the Disabled People's Organisation, which means that all our staff, all our exec, all our members are disabled people. So obviously shielding is a big issue. And what we found is that whilst Zoom makes it more accessible for some people, there are still a lot of disabled people who are digitally excluded. And so it makes it very hard for us to engage with them using Zoom meetings. And the other issue we've had is that often when people are setting up Zoom meetings, even quite large webinars and on a national basis, they forget to ask about people's access needs. So they forget that people still might need a PSL interpreter, or they forget that the meeting still needs to be captioned.
Yeah, thanks, Maggie. That's really important. And, you know, I think it's easy to kind of steamroll ahead with some of these approaches without considering some of the things that you might normally consider if you were bringing people together in a meeting, but because you're in a virtual space, you know, we need to remember that, you know, we need to make sure that they're fully accessible to everybody. And certainly the access to technology is a big barrier, isn't it? And I know funding streams have been available in some areas, you know, to be able to buy that equipment and resources, but I'm sure there's many other areas where it's not, that funding hasn't reached the people that it's needed to. So that's definitely something to bear in mind.
Yeah. Can I just add as well that there's often a problem
it's not so simple as buying the technology, because if you're a disabled person, you may need specialised equipment, and if you've got nobody who can advise you on that, you may very well not purchase something just because you don't know what to purchase.
That's a really good point. Thank you.
I noticed that Kevin's put a little note in the chat box saying whether you know, Maggie, of a good place to kind of get guidance around inclusive online meetings. Is there a place that folks should go to, or is it a case of using common sense? Or
I haven't actually come across anywhere. It'd be very useful to know. I mean, I think because the organisation that I work for, or I'm involved with, always makes all our meetings sort of automatically. But I think it's a really good point. I don't know if there is anywhere.
Maybe Karen and Lisa and I can do a little bit of digging around and see if we can find anything. But the points that you've made already have already made me think differently about a piece of work that we're looking at the moment. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, was there anything else in particular anybody wanted to share back before we move over to our Saningia colleagues to share some of their experience? No? Okay, thank you. Banu and Latha, I think you've contributed before to some of our webinars, and we know that you're kind of real experts in this area because you've been pioneering with ways of taking some of the social accounting and audit process online for some time now. So that's why we were really keen for you to just take around 10 minutes just to share some of your experience. Are we okay to hand over to you?
Yeah.
Thank you
very much, Lisa and Karen, for coordinating this. It's been a long time since we have been discussing about this virtual webinars and Zoom audits and all that. But it's good to have our SAN team also discuss in the same arena. To talk about virtual audits, we did have a small session last time when we had our team members participate. But this session, we would like to talk specifically on an app which we have developed in partnership with another organization in India, which Latha will detail about. So to start with, I would like to share my overview of what we have been doing in the recent years. Even before COVID struck, we were into this virtual mode because we had projects across India and it was a huge distance to travel. So we did most of our stakeholder consultations via online questionnaires or video interviews or even WhatsApp. I'll show you an example where there was an organization in Calcutta where we had just 1 day for the field visit. So when we came back, we found a lot of gaps. So what we did, we used to send them WhatsApp questions and ask them to record answers and send it back as voice messages. And all that was evidence. We had a copy of all that stored in our document drives. So when we had the audit trails, we could put that as a display for evidence. Telephone interviews, yes. When we have a student, this is again for those who can understand the project or within the scope. Suppose it's a 2-year-old project and we do it on the 3rd year, they'll remember what work you have done. So telephone interviews, again, there was a lesson where we learned that when we did an audit for a project which is over almost 4 years ago, and the numbers were not were redundant, they kept changing the numbers, the prepaid cards, we couldn't get access to many. And some could not remember the project they were part of because they had many people supporting them in that particular flood program or any other disaster program. So that short life of memories is also there when we have the telephone interviews. So how soon you are going to conduct which phase of the program also matters for the effectiveness of the telephone interview. So what we do is we have an Excel data sheet, and when we have these questionnaires administered, we key in the response directly. So when we key in the response directly, we can also analyze it and then take off whatever data parameters we need for our reporting. That I'll show you. This WhatsApp specific, if I can tell you, we save the chats. Now WhatsApp, we can save the chat, we can save the media files. Yeah, we can export this entire media history to an email. So we can archive and keep it in our Drive account. So we know that this particular interview was again done over phone. So she has attached some files, the same files I can evidence in my audience in my audio trail and show these were the pictures of the beneficiaries. which they had shared with me when after I had requested. And then the audio clips. The audio clip, of course, will be in Bengali. You can't understand. But then when you have all this and it is quite detailed, what happens is when you write the report, you find a lot of gaps, right? So you can go back and forth and ask the organizations to keep giving you more and more information. So it's not like that one day of the field visit is limiting you to just that information which you're going to see on ground. You can always go back and tell them, give me audios, give me video files, give me pictures. Yeah, you do an interview and send it as a voice record, and then you store all that in memory. This particular questionnaire response, which I can share, was done for one of the audits. So we had this questionnaire and the key being outlined. So with these responses, we can do our own data analysis, the age group or whichever sector we're looking at, whether it is a first child, the sponsorship has reached, yeah, whether the counselor has been able to reach them on time. So this is a special school which we did the audit recently. Last time we mentioned about it, where we had across India panelists coming in. So this form is still available online. So in case in the first draft of the report, we feel that this number of stakeholders is not enough, they can still go back and complete it by adding more number of stakeholder consultations in the same, and then add on the analytics to the second draft of the report. That is one way.
It was done using a tool called SurveyMonkey.
Yes. So if we do the entire data entry over phone, we can either use a Google form to key in the data and then get the analytics, or use a SurveyMonkey form to key in when you talk over the phone and consult the stakeholder and key it in directly. So anyway, we are going to have it analysis being generated, and don't put everything in the report. Just take what is crucial and only mention about that. Now the video interviews is also very effective now with all our Zoom and Google and extending their services, and the bandwidth has also gone up now. So we are also now into having a lot of video interviews via WebEx, Zoom and Google Meet. And again, we can record all these and show in our source files. When we say stakeholders, yes, breakout rooms, we are yet to try. Frankly, we are yet to try the breakout rooms because we didn't find that required as of now, but we're coming out with a program in 2 days where we are going to look at the breakout room option as well. So for now, when we say focus group discussion with key stakeholders, we have all of them assembled in one room, and then with the video conferencing, we're able to communicate with them with having one animator present in the room to administer the questionnaire. So we can also see the way they're responding and document that. Feedback forms, Google forms are there. There is one particular form which was given for the parents. We can see on the screen a questionnaire for parents which was administered. So here again, it is very simple. Earlier it was like we used to hand over questionnaires and then come back and do the data entry, and it used to take a lot of time for analysis. Now this seems simpler. So thanks to the virtual scenario now, we are able to do it quicker. So this is one of the methods. So we can record, again, WhatsApp. People say many are using WhatsApp for forwarding messages, but we are using it for getting more information for the programs and documenting that. So whichever tool you use, we have evidence of all what we have consulted. So this was one recent panel made, FGD we had with staff via Zoom. So screenshots, audio records, video records, everything will help you. And when you can also go back, recollect, because when you're having a lot of projects parallelly running, you may forget what was discussed at that particular program, but all these records which are available online, we can definitely get back and refresh our memories and write the report better. So this is one which we have been using. Now Lata will talk about the app which we were discussing. In fact, it's coming out very well, and there are many takers in India. So we are looking forward to also having many others also across the globe wanting to experiment this app. So over to you, Lata. The screen is visible, I hope.
Thank you, Banu. I think we mentioned it last time that we piloted an app which we use to get feedback from 10,000 people across 10 states in India. So this particular app which we had developed, we could download it in a phone, in a smartphone. And so the person who went to meet them in the rural villages, the person who did the survey had to get into some remote villages So he would just take the phone, and the app was there in the phone, and he could do the entry through the phone itself. So we had developed that tool for data entry basically, but it also does a lot of analysis and helps us to write the report also very well. So it is somewhat similar to the SurveyMonkey tool, which is already there. I'm sure you must be using the SurveyMonkey to some extent. It is something similar to that. But here we have extra features in the questionnaire where we can do the form builder. It's like a form builder we have created. Yeah, Banu? So what really happens is it helps people to do a baseline, a midline, or an endline study using this report, because the data is going to be stored. All the three data would be stored, and the analysis would be very easy for us to pick up data from all the three things and do the analysis, because you're having it in the same platform. Otherwise, it becomes difficult. You will have to have three different files, and you will have to do the analysis differently. So we are coming out with this particular tool just to help us to do a lot of data analysis much efficiently than that would happen in a SurveyMonkey, which is only like you can only use it for one time, and then afterwards we'll have to take it separately and do the analysis. But here we thought, if each client gets one, then all the data for that particular client would be stored, and we could do analysis of the data as and when required of the baseline, midterm, or endline, whatever. So this is a little different from an SPSS tool or a Excel or a SurveyMonkey tool, which we are planning to develop, because we found that the need for monitoring and evaluation has really increased, and people doing things in an electronic form is much preferred these days than maintaining manual records. So this also has, and everything is stored in the cloud. So that's another advantage over here. So anybody at any point of time can, look at the report that is there, or look at the data entry, find out how many people have been surveyed, what is the status, everything would be available. That is how comprehensive we are trying to create this particular software. So what are the things that are available are, next slide, Banu. The most important thing is it has what is called a form builder, which helps us to create the questionnaire, and the questionnaire can be created in any ways which we want, and there's lots of open-ended. You can also have open-ended questions, but largely we would prefer to have a lot of close-ended questions. So there would be the option of using multiple options could be there, or you only want one answer, that can also be done. So it's just like the Google form, how you do a questionnaire in that, you can use the same things for getting the feedback form. Then we also have this analytics engine, which will help us in the analysis of the data. The data gets converted into Excel format. You can also have it as an Excel format in case you want to do something special with the data also. So we can export it as an Excel file and also use it for that. And also it helps in the report. We also are trying to create a report generator, because we thought that if the report is going to be similar, like if a monitoring and evaluation report is going to be similar for every month, and the organization is just going to use this, or if it is going to be done every year, the impact assessment or the social audit, and if it's going to be similar, then we thought we can also have a standard reporting format. So that is also being worked out. So we have what is called a report editor, where we can have all these graphs and the tables that we generate through the data also coming into it, and you can also write like a Word document, you could write it and also insert these graphs. So at the end of the day, you will also have a report ready, and it will also be available in the cloud. So anybody, like if 3 people are going to write the report, it's easy for them to handle it. I'll handle this portion and she can work on that portion, and it's all available in the cloud. So this is something which we have come up with. So we have not used the report builder as such, but we have used the form builder and the analytics engines, and we have done about 2 or 3 reports with using these data. It's quite good, but we still have not gone and shown demos to any of our clients as such, because we thought first let's perfect it ourselves before even we take it out. So it could be offered as a on a client basis, or we've still not worked on the marketing strategy on how to do it. We're still about 85% of the software is developed. A little more to go. After we finish it, we'll work on how to do it. Probably we'll definitely share one license with the SAN UK people. You could probably try it and see whether it also helps you in your data collection and report writing. These are the top 3 features of the software. Apart from that, so it's very good for the questionnaire developing is very nice, because the form builder, you could do as it's seen on the screen, you can have multiple choice questions, or you can have these buttons there. You can have all these options which are there, the drop down buttons, the check boxes, the multiple options, everything is there. So though it will take about 10 to 15 minutes of hard work for doing one questionnaire, but it's really very easy, because analyzing it becomes really very useful. And the best part is it would be available or as a link in, you can use it from both your computer as well as your, as an app, it can come from your mobile also. So that's something which SurveyMonkey was not offering before. We only had to sit in front of the computer and do the data entry. But now this is app based, so you could also just take your smartphone and use it for the surveys that we work with.
Thanks, Latha. I'm so sorry to interrupt you there. I think just conscious of the time, we've only got 5 minutes left of our session this afternoon. So I just wanted to kind of start to wrap things up, just in case people do need to leave at 12. I don't know if there's any final sort of comments you'd be able to.
Yeah, so that's what.
Sorry.
You could ask questions, because this is all about the analysis. You can do any type of graph that you want. You could do all the graphs that's available in Excel comes here, or in cases you can do it here. The next slide one, and also the report builder, as I said, you can have access to edit the report. The most important thing is, since it's on the cloud, if 2-3 people are writing a report, it's very easy, because each of them can pitch it and just put it in one report. Otherwise, we'll have to send it to them, and they have to do the changes, and then we redo the draft and all that. It's not possible, because it's all on the cloud. So it's become very easy for us to handle it if more than 1 or 2 people are handling the report. So this is the most important thing. It's cloud and mobile friendly. All data is in one place. Secure data. We assure you of secure data. We are not going to show it anywhere. Easy field data gathering is there. Offline. And the best part is we can also do it in the local languages. As I told you, in India, that was the biggest challenge which we had. Here we are also able to do the entire questionnaire in any local language. Not only in English, but in Hindi, Orissa, Oriya, Bengali, anything, Tamil, whatever, we can also do that. And it would come, anyhow, the content is going to be the same. The data that we're going to analyze will be the same format. So only the questionnaire would be in the local language. And in case we have a person who's doing the data entry of any qualitative data in the local language, then we are using Google Translate to translate that into the nearest form of English, so that the person writing the report will also be able to write that. So these are the great features that we have in this app, and it's very easy to use and very quick to adopt, because we really had no problem, because we used this to collect this 10,000 data. We had to train about 25 people, and we did the training in just 1 hour, and they went around, got the data, and they came back, and we could also do the report very well. So
fantastic.
This is what,
yeah.
So we have come out with.
It's an amazing tool that you've developed, and I think it just demonstrates how stakeholder engagement, there's a number of different tools you can use, and the online, and building on some of the conversations we had earlier, where we shared ways that you can engage, to taking it to a different level in terms of how you can use and analyze that data, and how it can be integrated into part of your social accounts. So thank you so much for sharing that. And if it's okay, if you could let us have the presentation, and maybe we can share that around with people.
Sure, I will
as well. Yeah.
Karen, I've also made a little note that the board at SAN UK to have a conversation with SAN India and talk about how might we be able to do something so that UK folks can access that tool and use it, because it just looks
Well,
You know, brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do to make that work. Excellent.
We'll be happy to do that. Yeah.
Sounds great.
but the most important thing is the questionnaire. We should have very good questions that target towards impact and how we can quantify impact. That is the most important thing. People only want numbers these days. So how can your questionnaire be numerical friendly is what we say, and we always tell don't go in for a lot of qualitative data, let there be more quantitative data, because more analysis can be done and more reports which talk about numbers come. We are not preaching the SROI over here at all, though there are many people asking us to do something on SROI. We are very happy to do this particular methodology itself, because we keep telling them that's that highly outcome based, it's not impact based. And so if you want to really capture impact, you should get into the social audit framework only, and that's what we recommend. Though we keep people do ask us to do some SROI reports, but we have not, this tool doesn't work on SROI or how to do that, because we use Excel, which is already there, that we could work on, not to calculate the SROI. So our most important focus is how to capture impact, and quantification of impact is what is our major focus for this tool. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. It's just gone 12 o'clock, so I know that a number of people have had to leave, and I know you'll probably be in the same position. So we'll look to wrap things up. I think, Liz and Lisa, we've got our stand gathering is going to be virtual this year and is in the planning at the moment. So please watch out for information about that coming up. I don't know if there's anything else either if you wanted to say, just to round things up.
I need to thank everybody for being here. It's been really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We look forward to more such discussions.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming along today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we're online, and you've got our email addresses if you want to ask us anything further, and we'll share the presentations from today as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
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 Then we're to.
Okay. I think two of our colleagues may have had to step away when they logged in because they weren't able to join the group either. So they may have logged in.
Right. I'll just stop the recording.